welcome to the Diplomats, where we're here to discuss the fall and winter of 1901. I'm Go Horns Go. I'm here with Superstition, also known as Stitches, and Audacious Hand. We're here to talk about Nexus Season 6 Finals main event, brought to you by diplomacy.com, diplomacybriefing.com, where you can get all the latest news on diplomacy. It's a new background tonight. I'm in what they call a separation. So I've had to move away from my normal porch to my secondary porch with poor man's internet. So we will see how it goes. How are you fellas doing tonight?
Doing good. Can't wait to start.
Yep, everything's all right.
All right, couple things to go over here. First, we had our first Lady Razor showing, which has to be discussed. I mean, he puts Ewok top left and then Napoleonic pose with those eyes. I can't stop looking at the eyes.
Yeah. The saggy eyes from No Sleep and the little upturned mouth with the fake smile. Perfect.
Like I've seen things.
Now, I think he did Riaz here a compliment. I mean, this looks like a very strong English pose with the mohawk and, you know.
Okay, he did not, because that's actually a faux hawk, which is much, much less cool than a mohawk. And I'm amused about how the wideness of his chin kind of tapers off into a pointed head. So pretty good
Okay,
too.
I need you to help me explain, because I'm not very good at interpreting this art. I just love it. I love how Tanji on here looks like, I mean, he's got the nails on the club.
I think that's a throwback though. I think last time he had the same club, so just kind of pulling that back in from last season.
I mean, he does look like a Croatian policeman, right? Like he's about to go beat up some homeless people or something. I don't know. I mean, he makes Tanj ready for business.
Yeah, I don't know what the club signifies.
Now, I think he did Max here a little wrong. This is a little dirty with the pimples and made him look like a little kid, but he gave him a lot of medals.
It's stubble. It's stubble.
Now, Philip, I mean, what a doofus.
He captured his happiness. That's for sure.
I like how there's a little motion to his hair being thrown back. It's good.
Dave Roberts looks like he has all of the answers.
Yeah, his smirk.
Yeah. And then I gotta say, I like Pez the best. Iron Fist.
It really captures his kind of frustration at not being in control, his kind of stinkiness. I love the bald mailed fist. It's perfect. It's really well done. Yeah, I'd say that one and Ewok are on par.
I like them all. I think they're just great.
I think he did a great job. So let's go. I got one more thing to share with you guys. I found some comments from your fan club. I'm not saying who made these comments. They were not on Nexus, but they were about you guys. The first was about Don saying he has serial killer eyes. But look at this. The other dude is beautiful. Audacious Hand. Why is he hot, but so wrong with this take? I mean, you got to think. the ladies are like stitches in hand.
Well, see, the reason why I'm wrong is because when everyone wants to agree with you because of how you look, you have to kind of push the envelope a little more. So
It's a problem I've never had.
I'm not wrong with my take, by the way. It infuriates me.
The take that was objected to was your take on metagaming, but it was fun to look at your fan club.
Yeah.
Both of you are beloved. All right, on to fall 1901. Stitches has promised that he's taken notes, given an interpretation, but I'm telling you right now, I haven't even looked at the map. So, Stitches' hand, where do you want to go to first?
I think we should start with Turkey. Just start on the bottom, go work our way like we usually do.
Okay, we'll go to Turkey. As I see it here, is exactly what I expected, which was no bounce in the black, and the fleets are getting out, and now we've got a perfect time for a fleet build in Smyrna. So I think Turkey is signaling the RT.
I think it's really predictable, but I think Russia really slowed him down with the bounce. Even with the fleet build in Smyrna, which is going to happen, it's going to be slow. I think he's just going to be stuck in that corner against Italy and Austria until France comes from behind. But yeah, I just don't see Russia helping him out of the corner until Russia's ready to move on Austria. So,
It is very sad. It's sad when you realize that the best case scenario is that Turkey was so paranoid that he asked for the bounce and screwed himself over. Because if this was at Russia's insistence, you really see the way in which Russia expanded, got 2 centers, a target's painted on Turkey. There is evidence to make me think that Turkey is just overly cautious. I mean, the move to Ankara is purely defensive. I would have liked to see a move to Syria, the kind of psychological edge against the Lepanto.
But if you're going to move to Ankara, just let Russia have the black. I mean,
You guys talk about it. You guys talk about it. I have to take a call.
I mean, see, I agree with you completely. I mean, but we have to admit we are in the minority with this position. But the reason you don't want to let someone in the black is the same reason why you want to let your ally into the black, is because it's an incredibly useful tile. And being able to throw those armies forward and to, for instance, Russia could have supported Bulgaria while he moves out into the Aegean,
Yep.
Among other issues. I mean, leaving the black empty is just puts you at a strategic disadvantage. It is funny though to see. I mean, I wonder if Ewok just at his old tricks and passively limiting Turkey again. I really wonder.
That's just how he plays, I think. He's really slow and passive. He likes to watch the board and see where there's opportunities, and he's not an aggressive player at all. We saw that last finals, the game I played with him. I was in an alliance with him, and he did the same thing. I needed him to move, and he just kind of held and moved slowly enough where it didn't.
I wouldn't say he's a passive player though, because he's a passive aggressive player because he really screws people over by not moving.
Well, we'll talk about Russia more later.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not critiquing him because he definitely had the best turn here, in my opinion. But yeah, we'll circle back there.
But yeah, I think that wait and see idea never came to fruition last season, and this season, I think because of how aggressive some of the other plays are, it's panning out for him this time. But I think it's not helping Turkey at the moment.
Well, okay, then let's just move on to Russia, because that's what we want to talk about. I mean, Russia to me is the queen of this board, for several reasons. We can move on to the north, which is just such an interesting geopolitical situation. But
he got England to put the fleet in Norway, which was obvious. I mean, there was no option after York. I'm sorry, after Liverpool moved to York, but You got Sweden, got Romania, got an army in Romania, kept Austria out of Galicia. The only thing
I
he
mean,
didn't do is take the black, which he could have done.
She could have done.
well, he did even better. I mean, the entire Western Triangle, which could be a threat to him, failed to take the Low Countries, and everyone's celebrating how France is brilliant for stopping Germany, or England is brilliant for stopping Germany. I mean, what is the practical effect here? I mean, Russia has no army threatening St. Petersburg. He got 2 builds. He took Sweden. Germany has to be very angry with England and France, and now Germany will be on his side, which puts tension on Germany's relationship with Austria, who's really the only person who's having anywhere close to as successful an opening as him. He has an army in Romania. He's passively limiting Turkey, while Turkey can be bait for the AI and just let them spin their wheels against him. I mean, the entire board is set up just so perfectly for Russia. Really masterful situation, and he isn't really playing passive. I mean, he took 2 centers here. It's really the opposite of his last game as Russia in a lot of ways.
Well, it's still a wait and see kind of thing. Like, I'm sure Germany saw the writing on the wall and invited Russia in because he has to have Russia. It's just a situation where Russia can be opportunistic. So I don't really see, Russia saying it, they're running away with everything, but because if you get a build in Sweden, you have to build in St. Petersburg to protect your investment. So you're still splitting your forces. Um, I
Did you
think
guys
Russia's
talk
in a really
about
good.
Austria while I was away for a second?
No, we went from Turkey to Russia.
I mean, I really like that Austria's getting 2 builds. He's got the RT, but I think a little slowed down here by, Italy again holding in Venice.
It's still the RT. It doesn't really look like an RT yet. They're really not cooperating at all. As like he didn't get any support from Bulgaria or any try to bounce. Turkey's playing pretty neutral so far as it is too. They're trying to hide it, and that if it's not a thing, then it's just really slow and unfortunate for both of them.
They're barely trying to hide it. It's more just a capital R, lowercase t to me. And Austria, I'd say Austria is in the second best position after Russia, but then again, look, Germany needs Russia now, right? Germany cannot help. Usually Germany can secure something in the West and then swing east to help Austria. Can't do that. In fact, now it's indebted to Russia. Italy is just kind of lurking on its border, making him sweat. It is a really good opening, and I think that he will survive, but his position doesn't match Russia's, in my opinion.
He's limited by geography, I think, is the problem.
Now, Austria had a really good round. I mean, 5 is amazing, especially in the finals. But for Austria, usually is finding your 6 and securing your 6. Then you can be a
Italy convoyed like you guys predicted.
Mm-hmm.
Do you take this as? I mean, Russia could really still be in a bit of an AIR here, but I don't think that's happening.
I think he's leaving all his options open.
I don't know. I think the convoy to Tunis was very tricky. Do you think Turkey should Spectral Lepanto? I'm just kidding.
That army can go straight into Albania, so there's never a sure thing for anything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just joking. I mean, if it's almost the absolute kind of basic nature of Italy's moves almost seems like a sulky cheekiness to me.
I understand the defensive nature of Venice, but yeah, having Tyrol would have been amazing. Being able to move into Munich or Bohemia, just something. It's yeah.
All right, so let's talk about France. Picks up Iberia, makes the move for Belgium. I'm a little curious if he thought Germany was really moving to Belgium and he's anti-German and there's an EF, there's an argument for Munich.
I would much rather have bounced Belgium. Munich's so hard to get. I know it's getting in the home center and putting pressure on it, but for me, he's secured 2 builds, and Belgium's really close to easy the snatch for it to be a 6 centers. It's just much better to bounce out of Belgium than it would be to try for Munich. He had a 50-50 shot, and I think Belgium's way more important.
I mean, I think counterintuitively, the blocking Germany out of Belgium is much more of a declaration that he is serious about eliminating Germany, which frankly, I'm a little bit skeptical of as France. Like, it's really a grind against Germany, especially in the early game. Munich is more of a pass-through center in 1901. So if he'd gone to Munich, I'd almost suspect he's on his way over to attack Russia, or he just is someone who really believes in his way to like talk him out of that situation and use it as a position of leverage to send raiders forward. But yeah, like Stitch just said, you're not going to hold Munich in the first couple years, and this way you get to stay in Burgundy as your defensive wall. So it's actually a much more it's a much stronger gesture against Germany than even taking Munich.
With Germany with 1 build, he has to decide, does he want to plug Munich with an army, or does he need that fleet to stop England? And so it puts him in a really tough position, because usually you want to build 1 of each.
So he could have supported Kiel to Holland. We talked about that last night. Or the other night. I theorized that England might be moving to Holland, but he would have given France 3 builds.
I think they lied to him, and he thought he was getting both.
I don't know. Letting that Russia fleet in makes me think that he had a suspicion.
Would you rather have a 3 build France if you're a 2 build Germany, or a 2 build France and a 1 build Germany?
I would much rather have a 3 build France. It puts a bigger target on him, and you can hold the line better and still have your fleet.
I mean, especially if France doesn't have the English Channel, Belgium is just going to be at your mercy till later. And for there to be a 3 build France, I mean, he's necessarily not going to be in a less advanced position against you.
So you think Germany here got tricked?
I would say so.
It's either a trick or just a misplay. I definitely would have supported into Holland, especially if you really thought that there was an alliance to let Russia in.
I love the English move to Holland. I think I said I liked it before he did it. This is why the EF is so powerful. I don't think that move is done enough. So many times England focuses on Belgium, whereas keeping Germany out of Holland is fantastic.
I would agree with you, but the move to York makes it a very inefficient move. Again, like he could have
not having boots on the ground.
Yeah, like he could have had his army out into Norway. I mean, there is a slight advantage to keeping a defensive army in case France kind of gets ideas. But I mean, France was obviously with this opening going to, ground his fleet in Portugal, which is quite pathetic.
Yeah, this is the alliance that you're looking at. If there's an alliance, it's definitely EF.
Yeah, but it's an inefficient EF. I mean, it kind of has shades of the jug, except here I think it's just kind of like mutual like bungling rather than one person kind of grooming the other.
That's pretty coordinated to do a double bounce like that. Obviously England's a little less trusting with the York move than France was, but
That's true. I mean, France was a little better. France was a little better.
Okay, time
Brotherhood
for
of the
grade.
Hawaiian shirt.
Time for
Yeah.
grade. Turkey.
We're doing great.
For this season, I guess it's an A. It's what you expect to rotate out so you can build.
For Turkey, and we're doing just the season, not the year. I'll give him a B minus. I mean, I think that he's just the continued that Smirnid's and Kara is silly. It's just continued paranoia and like participating in his own limiting. So yeah.
I give him a B. I think Smyrna should have moved to Syria.
Same.
That's a huge problem for Italy at that point.
I agree.
Yeah, I would have liked to see the Syria
Smyrna's
move.
wasted. And there was no fleet in the black that he needed to worry about.
Well, I mean, the
Right.
idea is that he's so afraid that Russia would move into the black that he thinks it would give him some insurance by already having Ankara blocked. And it's not even a very good defense. Like, if you're going to take that risk, just take it. So you're right. Actually, it's a C plus.
I'll change mine to a B minus.
Okay, Russia.
I'm giving him an A.
Yeah, A. All the moves are right. Everything's in the right
Perfect.
spot.
Yeah.
I give him an A as well. Austria.
God, there's going to be a huge target on your back you walk after this podcast, man. Good luck. If there isn't one already, be careful, man. People don't like a big Russia, you know.
Russia is the easiest big power to contain.
Yep.
It's the easiest, maybe not to contain, but to form a mob against for whatever reason.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, there's always a danger of early leader syndrome in the
Yeah.
Nexus finals. Everyone's worried about people getting ahead, except for season 5, when no one appeared to care that Kudasov was ahead. But in every
Including
other
us.
game,
Including us.
It's
We
a
never
problem.
cared that he was ahead or picked him to win.
We're like, forget about Germany. What's everyone else doing?
Austria, got to give him an A.
Yeah.
You know, could have been way bad. I mean, I asked a question at the beginning, would he be eliminated in 02? Okay, he's not going to be eliminated in 02. Doesn't mean he's going to make it to 04, but he is getting 2 builds. He's
He'll be around for a
kept
little while.
Italy on side.
I'm going to give him an A minus because he allowed Germany to let Russia into Sweden, which is Austria's already is just a failure of diplomacy. So a slight blemish, very great opening. You know what's funny is even
You're
though
blaming him for not controlling Germany.
yes,
You're downgrading him for
Yeah.
that.
If you're a good Austria, that's one of the first thing you do is try to figure out if you can keep Russia contained by keeping him out of Sweden. That's
Yeah.
like one of the first things you do with Germany is
Yeah.
start negotiating hardball with Russia.
Right, but that's not in his control.
That's diplomacy. It's not gunboat. It's definitely in his control.
it's a failure in diplomacy. It's a failure in diplomacy. I will say too, though, I think even though Paua won a Nexus finals with Austria, one of the amazing things about that win is that he kind of did a Bruce Lee roundhouse kick against 3 invading powers. But
Yeah, I believe he had lost a home center in 02 or 01. He had at one point lost all 3 home centers
That's right.
at different
But I
times in the
think
game.
this might be the most straightforwardly strong Austrian start for any Nexus finals. I could be wrong, but yeah. So
I think EVR had a 2 build Austria last year.
did he?
I think
Yeah.
Because he gave up Trieste.
Oh, you're probably right. You're probably right.
Yeah, he gave up Trieste, so he didn't. Yeah.
Okay, Italy, grade.
I'm gonna give it B for boring.
Same.
I like Max, but it's a C plus for me. Army Venice hold 2 times in a row. Mr. Kalhamer made an army in Venice for a reason. You've not
It's gonna
shown
be the
us
new.
what that
It's
reason
gonna be the
is.
new Warsaw. It's just gonna sit there for like 4 years.
Germany.
I think he did the best of what he could, but he obviously failed diplomatically.
Yeah, I'm actually going to give him a B plus because he failed diplomatically, but the instinct to create an overpowered Russia and suddenly to become needed to the board is pretty good and might save his game. So I don't want to give him too low a grade and then get egg on my face.
I'm gonna give him a C minus because I think he should have took Holland. I really do. I like the Sweden whole or like Russia and the Sweden, but I think he should have took Holland. I really do.
I give him a B. I don't dislike any of his moves. I particularly like letting Russia into Sweden. It seems more significant now than in uh, any other normal game. He can leverage hopefully the Ewok Riaz rivalry, and if you're allowed to control other people, the fact that England moved to York and does not have an army in Norway is even more help to Germany. So I'll give him a B, but it looks bad. B for I don't dislike the moves, but I'm not confident of Germany's long-term viability in this game right now.
No, and I think as far as Russia's concerned, this is an ends to a means. And even if they have a rivalry with England, I don't think they're gonna overextend or do anything stupid to go over and just burn the other players. So it's going to be, a small bout over Scandinavia, but in the long term, it's probably just going to be a partition of Germany.
I mean, if I was Russia, just being the position of who do I love more, I would be so happy. It's like Germany let me into Sweden and England didn't put an army into Norway. I mean,
Yep.
Let me put the gratitude on each scale. I would actually prop up Germany at this point if it was me. But unless you think you have a good thing going with France. But yeah, really nice play by him.
France's grade.
I love it. I love it. I think it's an A for me.
No,
But I would have opened the same way and I would have done the same thing. So that's just me.
I have my fetish tiles and I have my phobic tiles. And Portugal is one of them. And I just cannot look at a fleet being grounded in Portugal in 1901 and be happy with it. So I'll give them a C. I know again, it's not what everyone believes, but being
need a fleet.
But I mean, having your first fleet be 2 moves away from any theater of war. I mean, I would rather be in the Western Mediterranean than have that build personally. You don't have to have a reason for doing things. You can just do things to like stir the pot. It's fine.
I'm a big believer of one enemy at a time, and I think France has put everything into Germany right now.
Oh, what is Italy gonna do? Come on. Like, I don't know. I would just do it for fun, even. Just
if Italy has to pivot, then you really pressure off Turkey, and that can cause a bigger problem later on. So
yeah, I don't know. I just don't like this opening in general. So I'm gonna give him a very biased grade. It's fine.
I think he gets an A for the fall, but if he had moved Marseille to Spain in the spring, then he could have put Mid-Atlantic into Spain if he was going to do that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So with what he had, I think it's an A minus, or an A, either one. But I think the real problem was the opening in my mind.
to be American, so he had that option to bounce.
You're right. It is a problem with the opening, and actually blocking out of Belgium instead of going to Munich is a pretty deft maneuver. So I'll up him to a B. But yeah, the opening itself, you're right. It's the 2-part structure that makes it kind of a little unpalatable.
I think that fleet will go right back to Mid-Atlantic, so it doesn't matter.
I agree that it will ultimately probably not matter, but I hate to see wasted tempo.
Exactly.
in diplomacy.
I think taking Burgundy was all the tempo he needed. It telegraphed immediately that it was anti-German, and there was nothing you could do about it.
Okay.
England.
I like
So
England first.
are we grading? I feel like it's impossible not to grade on a two-part method here.
You can grade however you want.
Yeah,
man.
I'm giving him a D. I hate the fact like that he didn't get an army into Norway and had to use that army to block out of Holland, even though he has an obvious, alliance with France. And I'm grading him on a curve because he picked England first. So come on, like let's see it. This is just throwing Scandinavia away to Russia at this point.
Yeah, he pretty much lost Scandinavia. The only great thing about having a fleet in Norway is that it can shift south at this point.
Yeah, which he won't be able to do because he's gonna have pressure up there. So
I give him an A. I love the Holland maneuver. I love being patient. He could only put the fleet in Norway. I graded him low in the spring for that reason. So doing with what he had, which is how I grade it, I give him an A. Now, do you people know the builds? I know I put him up there. I really don't know the builds.
I saw, but I predicted all of them.
I haven't seen it yet.
All right, so you and I will predict. Let's go in reverse order. I predict England will build a fleet Edinburgh.
I mean, he has to. I think at a game of this level, France is going to take a build in London or Liverpool as a sign of betrayal. I mean, England has been super cautious with France. It could be intentional foot dragging, but yeah, I agree. I think fleet in Edinburgh.
Germany, I believe, has to build an army in Munich.
It could be. I mean, if he really does have Russia on his side, he might go for a fleet, and then try to get into Helgoland Bight and get into Denmark and put a little more pressure on the North Sea. It could go either way. I mean, it really depends if he wants to put the pressure more on England or on France, because he can, if he just gives up on Belgium, which he should, there's no way he's getting it. He could just kind of withdraw back to Munich and kind of do a slow retreat.
This was the hardest build. It's a 50-50 for the most part. But understanding what Russia would build really helps you understand what Germany built. But yeah, in the end, Germany built a fleet in Berlin, and I agree with that 100%.
Okay.
Do not give away the builds.
Why not? I'm telling you what they are after you guess.
Okay, France. One build is easy. Army Paris. The next build I think is easy. Should be a fleet Marseille. I don't think you build a fleet in Brest.
I don't know. I mean, he's being really careful not to alarm Italy either. So even though the thing about France is that it's going to take you a while to break out beyond your kind of Iberian centers. So even though building two armies is kind of like thrusting yourself against the brick wall of Germany and not really making headway for a little while, it's okay to kind of lay low and not grow too fast. And
I think two armies would be a big mistake. France is a fleet. I have a big, you have fetish tiles. I have fetish ways to play countries. France is a naval power.
I mean, I agree.
But it's one of the hardest countries to defend with fleets.
Yeah. I would personally build a fleet, but it just seems like the way France is playing, if I'm predicting what is likely, not what I think is best. It seems like he is foolishly focused on not antagonizing Italy or England, both of who can pump out fleets much faster than him. And he might just end up a playground for their contention over the seas.
If he
But,
doesn't want to antagonize anyone, then he should wave. Should build an army in Paris.
that's crazy. No
I
way.
think it's crazy to build two armies.
You
Any
think he
chance
should
of a
not
fleet-
build one of his builds?
I do that all the time. I wave religiously.
That's you, man. I would never do that.
Okay,
would never
John,
do that.
what happened?
Army Paris, Army Marseille. I would build the same.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
A four army France.
Yeah. Armies are the most defensive way for France right now. And if you have England on your side, that's all you really need is to push that through. So
I think it's a bad move.
nah, fleet's not gonna do him any good.
I would have built
Stuck in
a
the
fleet
channel,
personally.
kind of sit there.
I would have
At least you
built
might be able to go through Tyrol or something.
I would have built a fleet personally, but I also would have had a different opening. So it's kind of
Yeah, you build a fleet when you get Belgium.
Italy has to build a fleet in Naples. You agree, Hand?
of course, yeah, that one's very obvious.
That's a gimme.
Yeah.
All right. And I don't think Austria needs a fleet in Trieste. I assume two armies.
Yeah, Pez is a little more sane than I am, so he would build two armies in the finals. Honestly, when I did that in the finals, it was such a mistake. Building a fleet too early as Austria, unless you have is really just a mistake. It's just you're thinking it about it too hard. Unless you have a rock solid astronaut going and you're just trying to pump fleets out of St. Petersburg and Trieste, which is the train of thought I had, and it's very hard to pull that off. Just build two armies. For Austria, your armies are the fleets of the continent. It's actually the only power where I truly enjoy armies because there's a kind of fluidity to how you move your armies through Europe as Austria. Just keep pumping them out. Just keep pumping them out.
Turkey has to be fleet Smyrna. Agreed?
Yeah. Too bad he's not in Aegean already. It's going to be tough.
Were we right on Austria, two armies?
Yeah.
Were we right on Turkey, fleet Smyrna?
Yep.
Yeah.
You're shaking your head, but you're saying yes.
Yes, you're correct.
Well, we know where Russia must build. We know he must build an army Moscow.
He probably would have anyways, but
I believe he must build a fleet North Coast.
So what I think Ewok will do is he'll build two armies because that's just the most Ewok-y thing. He's like, fleets, people might expect me to be like a dynamic and exciting player. That's a lot of pressure. So I think he'll just build two armies, which is the safest move. Personally, I mean, I still to this day maintain that building a fleet on south coast of St. Petersburg
way better.
Is a very underrated build always, in the sense that it's actually subtly anti-English because honestly building any fleets in the north is anti-English, but the English will perceive it as anti-German. So you kind of have this kind of signal jamming and confusion around what you're doing a little bit. You can like redirect. I think the Baltic and the Bosnian Sea, if you can fill them both, is just like an incredible corridor to kind of throw armies around and to control the area. So I would love to see that build, but you already put it up. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm a big fan of armies with Russia. It's just the most defensive thing to do. Fleets do very little for Russia for the most part. It's really a mid-game thing, and in 1901, I would never build a fleet. It's just too easy to pivot with an army. There's too much leverage you can get with an army, and Ewok and I think very similar, where it's more of a wait and see kind of thing.
I agree with that with the North Coast, but I'm telling you, you should experiment with South Coast fleets.
No, I agree. I like South Coast way better. I've been stuck on the North Coast so long.
Exactly.
And I see all these people on the comments, and I'm like, it's gonna be fleet North Coast. I was like, that's why you're not in the finals.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there is nothing more fun than having Germany let you into Sweden and then building fleet South Coast.
But that's where I love that. That's where you can exploit it because that's how people always perceive the move. But a fleet in the South Coast can very quickly become anti-English. Like it
Right,
gives
because it
you
doesn't even
actually
have to
more.
go into the Baltic. You can just go straight through Sweden.
Yeah, it actually gives you a lot of flexibility. But yeah, I mean, I would say even me, the double army build is usually the most
Okay.
strategically sound idea.
All right. I'm going to ask some questions on the board as I see it. Since we're talking about Russia right now,
But
does he
yeah, since
put,
Russia built an army, Germany had to build fleets.
does Russia put the fleet in Sweden with Denmark cutting north? Yeah, Sweden and Norway with Denmark cutting north.
Hmm. I would love to see. I mean, that would be uncharacteristic of Ewok to do something so, just to like put down the fist of his early hegemony over the board um, down. But maybe like we need to like think out of his character and see what would actually be optimal for him. I mean, I do personally. I really like getting into Finland early too, so I could almost see him kind of rotating the armies up. Once you get the kind of army, the defensive army to Finland, if you are going to take all of Scandinavia as Russia, then you want to lock it down as your fortress and not be able to lose it. There's a
Well,
few options.
I agree with that 100% if there's an heir.
Yeah,
If there's not an heir, Moscow has to go to Ukraine.
that's true. That's true.
Yeah, I think he's stuck with 2 units there, and with EDI going into Norwegian, most likely he's going to have to boot Norway out now.
Yeah, but then the Norway can retreat. Edinburgh goes to Norwegian Sea, and then there's 3 to take Norway back, and he can't hold it, and Sweden's put at risk. It's tough.
The real question here is, if Germany relies on Russian support, I am dead against this Fleet Berlin build. I'm dead against it precisely because of this conundrum. What does Germany do? Does Germany move Kiel to Holland, supported by Ruhr, which will get cut? And then you have to know what North Sea does and try and get Berlin to Kiel. Does Kiel go to Baltic? I don't know what to do with that fleet in Berlin.
I would probably support Kiel into Munich and then pull Berlin over the Kiel.
I mean, there's a lot of options. The only certainty is that you want Berlin into Kiel. As for what other unit, I mean, Denmark could go to Helgoland, could go to Skagerrak. You could put Kiel into Denmark. You could,
As suboptimal it is, I think Russia might put Army STP into Norway and just hold Moscow.
Ewok doesn't hold.
Whatever. That way, if he does retreat to Barents, he has some way of bouncing. Sweden and Norway will both be defended. So he'll have that extra build.
I'd say if I have one critique of Russia is that I hope that his little like coy foot dragging in the south doesn't bite him in the butt, because if you look at, I mean, Austria is packing some punch here, and now Russia has to commit a lot to the south, and again, they still don't have the Black Sea, which would let them like defend Romania or Bulgaria. I mean, if they had gone in a more trusting alliance and he was more willing to go north, you could commit a little more up there. But I mean, that might be
tempo, and Austria's a threat.
Yeah.
All right. I think England's moves are. I mean, he might give up on Norway and move down to Skagerrak. That's possible, I guess. But
if he automatically moves to Skagerrak, it gives him somewhat of a leverage on Germany.
Right, with the North Sea.
Triple back in.
I mean, he could even take Helgeland, Bight, Skagerrak, North Sea, put all the convoy lines around. I mean, it's not entirely out of the realm of possibility that
He does that, and Denmark
Russia,
goes to north. That could be a problem.
yeah, I mean, it's not entirely out of the realm of possibility that England and Russia actually have worked something out and are they're going to partition Germany. I mean, if I was Russia, I would probably prop Germany up a little bit, especially since he built that fleet, but we'll see.
France's moves. Paris has to move to Picardy, I'd assume. Spain has to move to Gascony. I'd probably move Burgundy to Rouen. I don't know what I would do with Marseille, and I would likely move Portugal to Mid-Atlantic and not Spain.
I mean, if he's clearly trying his very hardest not to antagonize, you know, the blue flame of rage down in Italy. So I really can't see him, even though just the kind of possibilities of this move would kind of push you towards some kind of aggression somewhere other than the somewhat impenetrable German front. He's probably
I'd
just
like
going
to
to
see us sneak into Piedmont, but we'll see.
yeah, he won't though. Yeah, I think, I mean, he might poke at Munich. He might like go for Belgium. I mean, who knows? I think that he actually doesn't really care that much about making an advance. He just wants to seem like a useful idiot while massing his armies on the border. And then the next build that he finally gets.
Mid-Atlantic is going to cover Spain, Brest, and Portugal with one unit. So
Yeah.
all you need to do is shuffle the remaining 4 armies to the front. So I agree, Burgundy to Rouen is the best because he's going to use that to cover something most likely.
Will he have the courage to move Marseille to Piedmont?
No.
Probably not, but it would be exciting if he did.
No,
Even if he got in there, I don't think they'd let him in the Tyrol.
I think I've decided that there's not actually a latitude of cowardice. It's actually a longitude of cowardice that just divides England and France off from the rest of the continent. So yeah, he won't ruffle any feathers other than Germany's.
I think it might be an arranged bounce in Piedmont.
I could see Pez being behind that. You know, Pez like convenes some large and very complicated and tiresome, you know, multi-power summit and decides that others should bounce in Piedmont.
Never know, he might just go for Belgium again.
So this crappy AI is going to continue, but what do you do? Go for Aegean?
I mean,
Go for bouncing east?
it's it's like an equally kind of crappy jug. So I think they're actually content just to kind of get to an impasse and rely on somewhere else from the board to break the balance.
I suspect if I know Pez, he's going to try for Bulgaria. And that's why I think Ionian will move to east.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the duel between Turkey's fleets and Austria and Italy is just a guessing game. So it's just a coin toss. I feel bad for Turkey. I think that he's already being taken advantage of.
Will Russia risk Romania and take the black invited by Turkey to assist?
That would be the smart thing, but I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think so.
I think Russia actually wants an excuse to remain in a position where he actually isn't too much of a help to Turkey.
I think they'll just hold Romania and have Romania support Warsaw down to Galicia.
I think allying with Ewok would make me want to tear out my own eyes.
It's awful.
Yeah.
It's so slow. I'm just too aggressive a player.
Well, if you think that would happen, then one would think that Serbia has to move to Romania to cut the support so Pez can take Galicia.
Right.
which may mean putting two on the Aegean.
Mhm.
Which
Yeah,
is
I mean,
why Turkey should have put his army in Syria.
yeah, that's what I'm
Now
saying.
he's got to walk it to Armenia. If
I
he's
mean, I
going to
think
cover Aegean.
Pez is definitely, if you as the individual power, has the best tactical position, has played the best as an individual power. But what I see is two kind of reluctant slash intentionally inefficient alliances, kind of content to get a minor stalemate line between them while things shake out elsewhere.
Pez prioritizes Bulgaria, Aegean, or Galicia.
Galicia.
Yeah. Once you get that, it helps you relieve a lot of pressure. And the only thing to put that back on is Italy.
Does
So
Russia move Moscow?
I mean, I see Stitch's argument for the hold in Moscow. I'd say I almost always hold that build in Moscow, but there's a pretty strong case to be made for coming down to Ukraine, just because I think that Pez will get Galicia as well.
If that happens, he may not go for Norway because of the retreat.
Yeah, it could. Yeah, I think that in the north he might be willing to play a war of attrition a little bit, and just kind of prop up Germany, let kind of the EF spin their wheels against Germany a little bit while shoring up the south. But I mean, I hate to say this, but already these players have already set up a game in which progress will be very slow.
I mean, if he flips sides and does an AIR, I mean, he can easily try to take the black and just move Warsaw to Ukraine and still hold that Moscow. He can always move back, but
I mean, if he was going to do that, then I would go Finland and SDP with my armies and just crush Scandinavia, and then that could be my fortress. Once you really lock that north down, it can be like a. But I don't think that'll happen. I think
he's pretty defensive. So if you're doing AR and you trust him not, he can take, or Austria can take Galicia anyway. So if you move it to Ukraine and hold Moscow, you have the option of bouncing SCP or Warsaw with Moscow.
Yeah.
Or you can always move back, but Ukraine will actually be able to help you hold Romania if you need to.
Okay, we do this at the end of every year. Who will be eliminated first and who will win? Season 6 main event.
I would say Germany would be eliminated first.
I agree.
And right now, I really like Russia's position. I'm a Russian player, so I think he's got great builds and great options. So, as much as I am a very big fan of France too, it's still breaking through Germany. That's gonna be the hard part. I think Russia will get most of the builds by sneaking up behind and taking after he can no longer prop up Germany. But we'll see.
And
Yeah, I don't really know who's going to be eliminated first. I mean, Germany is kind of the obvious answer, but I have my doubts that will happen, just because I think that in a high level game, especially with this clash between East and West, like Germany will end up needed and will be, even if it's just one army, will be kept alive for a long time. I mean, I guess that's the most likely. I could see Turkey or Italy being taken out first. Italy seems to be, I don't know, he seems to have France spooked of him. Like, I guess France is afraid to, step on mighty Italy's toes. So that's good for him.
That could change really fast. I mean, Mid Atlantic switches over. I mean,
Yeah.
once he has Belgium, he builds a fleet in Marseille.
Yeah, I mean, so I could see Italy. I mean, especially with Italy, maybe kind of getting on Austria's nerves a little bit, or Turkey. It's hard to know. Who will win? I mean, I think Russia is the best position right now. I think Russia's kind of running this board.
Okay, I think Germany will get eliminated first. And I disagree with you guys on Russia. I believe England will win. I think England is an amazing position with those 2 army builds by France. So stabbable at will once he takes Holland and once Germany starts going down.
Nah, I like France's position better. That's just me. It's
mean,
really hard to stab with all those armies.
I mean, England has 3 fleets, and he has 3 fleets facing him, so he's not really at an advantage.
I mean, I don't count Fleet Berlin as something that can get in the game.
Mhm.
Okay. Anything else you guys want to say before we call it a show?
Do you guys have a public comment of the day?
I already put my public comment about how hot you are, Hand.
Okay, that wasn't public. That's just kind of like a somewhat awkward, display of a private confidence to you. But I don't know. Personally, I liked Petsa Di Merda's comment where he says, "I really like this commentary in real time. Certainly, the external commentators lack the whole negotiation side, so the perception not complete. But I find this solution very stimulating. Perhaps it would be helpful if the players also participated in the debate or there were interviews during the game." What do you guys think?
We're not doing interviews during the game, Pez.
But
This is more a chance for you to meta.
But he's the administrator and like the highest like law of Nexus morality, and he says it's okay. I mean, I will say I don't know. Let's vote on it right now. I am for in-game interviews of players. What do you guys think?
Totally against it. Not happening.
I think that's very detrimental to the players.
I am the Pez of the diplomats.
I'm okay with interviewing and then releasing it after the fact, but probably not in the middle.
I think Eustachio, if I'm not mistaken, had grades. Did he grade people?
He did,
I like the fact that people are taking our grades. I'm going to quickly scroll to see if I see his grades.
I mean, if you're worried, then don't give him that press, man. Let's deplatform him.
Here,
how far are you going back? You're at 3-7.
This makes no sense.
Finals commentary. You're in the wrong thing.
I don't understand this thing.
There we go.
PVR, England, A minus.
Determined to have 17 different chats.
There's 1901. England A minus, France B plus, Germany D, Italy C, Austria B plus, C minus.
Okay, let's just look through this. Wrong, maybe wrong.
I'm going. How do I find the thumbs down?
Yeah,
the thumbs down or the gag thing.
Oh, the nauseate. Yes, let's give him. I'll give him a nauseated face too right now. Hold on.
This is more a testament of Ed's technological.
I don't know how to do this. Okay, where's the one where the one's throwing up? Which one?
Here, I put it. You can just click on the one I just put up.
There we go.
Nauseated face.
Nauseated. I'm nauseated by your grades. And you want to, by the way, Eustachio, you can come on the diplomats. He's asked to come on, and you're a fine, thoughtful man, and your gentlemanliness will shine through.
I don't know. The grades aren't too bad, but he lost me with Russia for sure. I was like, how can you fault Russia?
The grades are terrible. I give his grades a C minus.
F minus for Eustachio's grades.
Oh, his first F minus. You can come on just so we can talk shit about you.
Okay, but A plus for Lady Razor.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thanks to our competitors. Thanks for those who follow this. Our views have sort of gone way up. I don't want to know why, but I think it may have something to do with Hand. The lady viewers are all over the internet right now. Who is this man?
Come on.
Whereas I have a shirt that said, "I don't like morning people or mornings or people." That's what my shirt says. But all right, thanks. And thanks to diplomacybriefing.com for sponsoring us. Good night.